We're taking you to the Etihad Stadium. The next FA Cup fifth round tie already underway. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Manchester City against Championship Plymouth with Conor McNamara and Izzy Christensen.
Thanks very much, Alistair and Rob Green, and we are underway here. It is still Manchester City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0, 12 minutes played. City have just had a penalty appeal. They're claiming that the ball came off the hand of Julio Pleguezuelo, the Spanish central defender. The referee, though, after just a brief deliberation, pointed to the corner flag and not the penalty spot. So a corner to Manchester City. We'll give you a full rundown of the teams in a moment, but here it comes, played in by Kevin De Bruyne and headed over the top by Ilkay Gundogan. And just by mentioning those two players' names, it's representative of a strong Pep Guardiola team. He's made 11 changes from the win against Tottenham in the Premier League on Wednesday, but this is still a strong side. Stefan Ortega in goal, a defensive Rico Lewis, Vitor Reis, the new Brazilian teenager signed from Palmeiras in January, yet to make his Premier League debut. But he is in alongside Nathan Ake at the heart of the Manchester City defence. Nico O'Reilly playing at left back. Strong midfield, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Ilkay Gundogan. And then it's James McAtee and Jack Grealish either side of the false nine, who is Phil Foden. The Plymouth team, they've brought over 7,000 fans. There's a lot of green here inside the Etihad Stadium today as Gundogan wins possession in the midfield and bears down on the Plymouth Argyle penalty area, gives it infield to Kevin De Bruyne, rides a challenge, flicks it out to his right-hand side, just too far in front of McAtee, who's going to sprint out to the sideline to try and keep the ball in play. Manchester City do remain on the attack as Rico Lewis rolls it back to Nathan Ake. But the visitors team, Conor Hazard, who performed all sorts of heroics in the last round as Plymouth beat Liverpool, playing behind three central defence. Well, it's actually a flat back five because Sorinola's dropping in on the right-hand side. They've got Tolobierov, Pleguezuelo, Nikola Katic, the player who famously lost a tooth in the win over Liverpool, as Ogbeta is back there too. And then in the midfield, Darko Diaby, who's got Manchester City history, was in the youth team here. He's on loans from Leeds United. Maliki Boateng in the midfield too, with Callum Wright, Bali Mumba and Mustafa Bundu leading the attack. So Manchester City have possession. They have it with Vitor Reis, named in the Brazilian Team of the Year last season. Made big waves as a young man in South America, and we're increasingly seeing what he can do here in this new look Manchester City team. But you know, for all their advantage, and this is the biggest gulf between any two teams left in the FA Cup, the 38 places between these two. Not been an awful lot between them so far as Bernardo Silva attacks towards the byline down the right-hand side, swings in across, Grealish arriving at the far side, takes a touch, tees it up again, and then McAtee turning and spinning as he shot, puts it too high, and it sails over the crossbar, and it's still Manchester City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0, is it?
Yeah, as expected, Conor. The flat back five that you're talking about for Plymouth there, completely stifling the space that Manchester City want to play in. They're nice and compact. They've got a very clear game plan, which is, they're pretty obvious, is to play on the counter-attack and get Mustafa Bundu down in the challenge in the channel, and play on the counter-attack.
So it is going to be a goal kick for the visitors. Conor Hazard, Northern Irish goalkeeper, wearing a very light lime green. Kicks it straight out of play despite the best efforts to keep it in of Mustafa Bundu, and that goes out of play for a throw-in on the left-hand side. And there was a little bit of a hesitation as the officials decided who they were going to give that to. There's a goal at St Mirren. Here is Gavin Wallace.
And it's for Celtic. Connor, Celtic up 1-0 now against the run of play. Jeffrey Schlupp, his first goal for Celtic, cuts in from that right-hand side. It goes in off the far post beyond Zach Hemming. St Mirren 0, Celtic 1.
Thanks very much, Gavin. 0-0 here in the FA Cup, looking for a place in the quarter-final, these two, as Gundogan hoops the ball away clear, and Plymouth have it back on the edge of their own penalty area again. So having beaten Brentford and having beaten Liverpool, can Plymouth Argyle make a whole new raft of history? I mean, this has already been a famous FA Cup run for them, and there's an excitement amongst the fans who have travelled here. And you have to think there's a little bit of a cautiousness about Manchester City. They still have the Club World Cup to come in the summer, but the FA Cup is really the thing that can redeem a lot, is he, for this team?
That's right, yeah. That's been, by their standards, they are still fourth and in the Champions League spots for next season, should it stay like this. But for Manchester City and their standards, their season hasn't been anywhere near what they expected. But like you say, this is a huge opportunity for them to stay in this competition and get their hands on some silverware this season.
Jack Grealish jumps and wins a header down for Kevin De Bruyne, hits him with the outside of the right boot, trying to get in behind the Plymouth Argyle defence, but Nikola Katic back there was able to intercept, and then Sorinola clears away, but clears too far. It squirts over the top of everyone, carries on through to Stefan Ortega wearing the burgundy and orange away to our left-hand side as McAtee does a little swing of the hips trying to get away from JB. And then Bernardo Silva back to the halfway line again, and Vitor Reis, 22 on his back, tall teenager, slender build. Gundogan helps it on to Kevin De Bruyne on the left-hand side, and now Grealish with the socks low, below his calf muscles, gives it back to Kevin De Bruyne. Maybe a moment for a shot, but instead it's a low pass to Bernardo Silva. Now the cross, the header down by Gundogan, the save by Conor Hazard. He tried to do everything right there from 10 yards out. Ilkay Gundogan, he got the header downward, but it seemingly didn't quite have the power to trouble Conor Hazard.
Yeah, it was a textbook Manchester City move, slicing through the midfield, the Plymouth structure just dropping deeper and deeper. And it's Bernardo Silva who's started this game, should I say, on the right-hand side, cutting inside, he whips it in. And how often have we seen Ilkay Gundogan ghost into the box and head it into the back of the net? But like you say, not enough power generated on that header.
So Rico Lewis comes out of defence, plays it across to Nico O'Reilly. O'Reilly, who has made 2 Premier League sub-appearances in the last month or so. He turns 20 later in March, so he's a teenager for just a few more weeks. He's playing on the left-hand side of the Manchester City defences, sliding in to get the ball there. Nathaniel Ogbeta ahead of Bernardo Silva. That's a throw into Manchester City midway inside their opponent's half. So Plymouth Argyle, lowest ranked team left in the competition. This is only the second time these clubs have ever met in the FA Cup, and the last time was all the way back in the 1980s where Manchester City won at their old stadium, Main Road. Nico O'Reilly, who's got an eye for the spectacular. Last year he scored a scorpion kick for City's under-18s that went viral online, and then in a game against Nottingham Forest back in March for the under-21s, he scored from inside his own half. Kevin De Bruyne gets to the byline here, tries to cut it in low, but too many defenders in the way, and that's been blocked away by Katic out for another Manchester City corner.
Yeah, it's getting excessive clap, hands up in the air above the head from Pep Guardiola in his technical dugout, because he enjoyed that. Grealish to De Bruyne making that third player run into the channel, winning a corner.
Corner's been taken short. Grealish slips it into the box to McAtee, tries to weave it to a crossing position, and it's blocked away off Boateng and out for another Manchester City corner. Still 0-0 here at the Etihad Stadium. 4th in the Premier League against 22nd in the Championship. And for Plymouth, well, most of their away games are long journeys. Up to Manchester today, back up tonight. They've got to play against Hull in the Championship on Tuesday. Manchester City about to take this corner in a moment. We'll go for news of a goal at St Mirren, but let's see what Kevin De Bruyne does here. Floats it in high towards the back post. Aki with a header that's on target but soft, and saved by Conor Hazard, and here's Gavin Wallace.
Oh, what a goal for St Mirren. Declan John Connor from about 20 yards out. It's a free kick up and over the wall and hits the underside of the bar. It's St Mirren 1, Celtic 1.
Thanks very much, Gavin. 0-0 here in the FA Cup between Manchester City and Plymouth Argyle as Maxim Talayerov brings it out of defence, number 40 on his back. Big, tall, striking central defender, long, blonde ponytail bobbing against the back of his neck as he runs. He's got bright orange boots as the ball goes out of play on the far side, and that is a throw into Plymouth and a chance for them to just try and push Manchester City back a little bit. The clock ticking on, and Plymouth have survived the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, they've done well. They've done very well so far. Nothing crazy, very disciplined, organised. They've been tidy, compact. They've got a very clear and obvious game plan, which many would have guessed how it would pan out. But the longer Plymouth can stay in this game, the more the belief, confidence they're going to grow. They just know that they need one opportunity if it stays like this, as we've seen in the previous rounds.
Vitor Reis from Manchester City rolls it short to Nathan Ake. Ake, who played against Liverpool last weekend. It was his first Premier League appearance in over a month. He didn't feature against Tottenham on Wednesday, and if you missed the team news earlier, 11 changes for Pep Guardiola tonight as Plymouth coming forward on the attack down the right hand side. And this is an opportunity for Bundu to run to the byline. He's over by the corner flag. Aki comes across to challenge him, and the last touch comes off the Dutchman, and Plymouth get an attacking throw. Yeah,
it's probably where Plymouth are the most vulnerable. It's actually when they attack, because they know that they're going to have to suffer a lot without the ball. They're going to have to be compact and disciplined and work really hard covering space across the pitch. But actually when they attack, one loose pass could invite Manchester City to counter-attack, and we know how deadly they can be on the counter.
Right, Julio Pleguezuelo, the Spaniard, who's got a long throw in him, has gone back as far as he can to the advertising board. It's only a few steps, but he comes up and launches it into the penalty area. Phil Foden's attempted clearance wasn't great, and Bernardo Silva hacks it away. Anywhere will do for Manchester City there as they clear their lines, but Plymouth Argyle remain on the attack, 0-0.
The fans who watched the previous round when Plymouth beat Liverpool in the fourth round, it was a throw-in, a long throw that orchestrated that famous penalty win, and then the dispatchment of the penalty to send them into the next round and knock out the Premier League leaders.
Pleguezuelo's got a bit more room on this near touchline to give himself a runway and a launch pad. Here he comes, arching the back, spinning the throw into the box. Gundogan gets up and wins the header for Manchester City. Ball back down on the deck again as challenging for it is Bernardo Silva, and he gets there ahead of Callum Wright, but City don't hold on to possession. Pleguezuelo onto Wright, did well to keep the ball in play. This is Ogbeta, back to Callum Wright again, 10 yards to the byline, left hand side as they come forward. Lovely little 1-2, right into the penalty area, but Kevin De Bruyne comes across, and with great care and consideration, the Belgian there was very physical but fair. He knew there was a risk of giving away a penalty. Down the other end, City counter, and Phil Foden's just beaten in the sprint by Talovierov. Good sliding tackle on the edge of the penalty area. Pep Guardiola applauds, both hands above his head. He liked the directness of Manchester City, who don't have a recognised number 9 today, but Foden is playing that position, and they tried to release him there. Down the other end, that was good from Plymouth, Izzy, the way they worked their way into the penalty area.
It was brilliant. Callum Wright orchestrating at the heart of it, bursting into the inside left area of the penalty box. Some really nice tidy bit of play, and I thought he was actually going to go down. The challenge perhaps could have clipped him, but it was good from Plymouth. Definitely raised the noise from their away section over there on our right hand side.
Earlier on today in the FA Cup, Crystal Palace beat Millwall at Selhurst Park by 3-1. Preston had a big win against Burnley. They beat them by 3-0 to move into the quarter-final. Bournemouth through, beating Wolves on penalties after Mateus Cunha was sent off. Dramatic circumstances at the end of that. We heard from Alistair Bruce Ball earlier on 5 Live, and here still in the first half at the Etihad, Manchester City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0, as City win another corner down the left. Sorinola putting it out of play, and Kevin De Bruyne, who's got the City captain's armband today, comes across to place the ball. So the Argyle fans have taken the middle tier and the top tier away to our right hand side. Much larger allocation than you'd have for a regular league game, as they've got close to 8,000 in here. Here comes the delivery from Kevin De Bruyne towards Aki again at the back post, and just about headed out. Pleguezuelo got the last touch. He's appealing actually that Aki touched it last, but the on-field decision is corner to Manchester City.
Yeah, from Pleguezuelo there at the back post, man marking Nathan Ake. It looked like Ake was going to steer that ball into the back of the net, but the defending was exceptional. You talk about putting bodies on the line, and if Plymouth are going to progress into this game, they are going to have to throw their bodies in.
Attendance of over 50,000 inside the Etihad for this FA Cup tie, as McAtee takes the corner for Manchester City. That's a really launched high, looking for Aki at the back post again. He goes down in a clinch with an opponent. A few City fans sort of half-heartedly appealing for a penalty there. I don't think there was much conviction behind it. He was stumbling, he was on his way down before any contact there, Aki, and the correct decision is goal kick.
Yeah, it was Ake up against Pleguezuelo again at that far post. Manchester City, from I think it's 7 or 8 corners they've had so far, if my tally chart serves me correctly, that they've either gone short or they've looked for that far post area.
Plymouth Argyle have yet to concede a single goal in this cup run. This is the third Premier League team they've played against, as McAtee hooks it forward, high and hopeful, judged slightly awkwardly by Talovierov, but he gets control of it. And Ogbeta here, tied up against the touch on the left-hand side, weaves in field of Bernardo Silva and gets it back again from Boateng. That's nice from Plymouth Argyle. Over the halfway line they come. The visitors in green, Manchester City in their traditional sky blue. Mumba controls it well. That looks to be offside against Ogbeta, and the flag does rise. And City stepping up as one there to catch Plymouth offside. Yeah,
it was good for Manchester City. Good line, organised, all in unison to step, because they know that space in behind their back four is where Plymouth want to exploit. But Ogbeta, they're just a little bit lazy getting back on side. I think they felt a little bit surprised, Plymouth, that they were given the ball. They were allowed to just play out and feed it down this left-hand side.
The draw for the quarterfinals, by the way, will take place tomorrow after the game between Manchester United and Fulham. This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Manchester City, who've lost 2 of their last 3 home games, albeit against some of the best teams in the globe. They got Liverpool, who beat them here, and Real Madrid. Today, the visit of Plymouth Argyle are doing okay here in the early stages, keeping Pep Guardiola's team at bay. Here is Vitor Reis. Plays it to the right-hand side to Bernardo Silva, level with the edge of the penalty area. Held up by Ogbeta, who's a combative fullback. He likes to get stuck in. He's not one of those who drifts away and allows the player come at them. He was in to make the challenge there. Manchester City get the throw, and Rico Lewis has taken it quickly. Vitor Reis gives it across to Nathan Ake. This is 15 yards outside the penalty area that Manchester City attack. They're playing left to right as we look down. Grealish plays a 1-2. That's a great ball in. Gundogan must score. Oh, it's come back off the post. The goal at his mercy. The German walloped it with his left foot. The goalkeeper barely flinched, and by some miracle, Plymouth are not 1-0 down here. Dramatically, Ilkay Gundogan has hit the post.
Yeah, it's not just hit the post, it's hit the inside of the post. Manchester City getting into that penalty area through the eye of a needle, and Gundogan strikes it really well with the instep of his left foot across the goalkeeper. He's got no chance, but it bounces back out. Unfortunately for Plymouth as well, the rebound didn't fall to a Manchester City player.
Here is Mumba over the halfway line, being pursued by Bernardo Silva. Ogbeta plays it infield towards the long-legged Mustafa Bundu, and he's done well to hold on to possession amidst the attention of two opponents. And he gets it back to Darko JB, who's made 32 appearances in the Championship this season. He's been a very busy man in the heart of the Plymouth midfield. And, you know, for anyone who maybe doesn't follow the Championship closely, it's been a really tough campaign for Plymouth. Down in the relegation zone, they parted ways with Wayne Rooney. Miron Muslic has come in, though, and there has been a big turnaround in form, and people are now giving Plymouth Argyle a proper chance of staying up now, but they are still inside the bottom three. As Plezaguelo judges a bounce, he was being a little cautious there, and Manchester City are going to regain possession. Gundogan gets it back, bang on the halfway line, plays it out towards Jack Grealish, who's a player struggling for form. His goal-scoring tally has been very disappointing over the last 12 months or so, and then a cross is delivered in by Nico O'Reilly there. That's easy pickings for Conor Hazard, and Plymouth Argyle are coping comfortably with what Manchester City have to throw at them at the moment.
If that's what Plymouth are having to deal with, Manchester City putting crosses into the box to no identified striker, remember Erling Haaland is on the bench, then happy days. Conor Hazard can just come and collect those from the air, absorb the enthusiasm away from Manchester City, buy a few minutes or seconds if you like, if they accumulate, and just give his team a little bit of respite. And so far so good for Plymouth. They've looked really pragmatic.
Hazard clears it up towards the halfway line. Rico Lewis ducks out of the way, knowing the ball is going out for a Manchester City throw. And you can see the urgency about Pep Guardiola there. Turn like a ball boy to glance towards the back of the technical area there to get another ball in, back in play as soon as possible here. He wants his Manchester City players to put Plymouth Argyle under a bit more pressure here. Gundogan has come really close with a shot that came back off the woodwork, but that's been about it for danger for City so far, as Rico Lewis gives it infield to Phil Foden. Foden back to Nathan Ake inside the centre circle. City will try their luck down the left-hand side. Grealish, though, challenged immediately by Callum Wright. Grealish spins back in a wide arc, and now he's facing the right direction again with Kevin De Bruyne outside him, level with the edge of the penalty area of the City attack. Nico O'Reilly plays a little 1-2 with Foden. This is intricate from City. Grealish in the penalty area tried to turn it back for Gundogan, but too intricate in the end, and Plymouth are able to clear it away.
Yeah, it's good play again down that left for Manchester City. They're just moving the ball 1-2 touches, zipping it around. But do you know what's really impressive? Plymouth are just not diving in. They're holding their space. They're dropping together. They're not doing anything silly. They are definitely in unison. They've got a plan. They're sticking to it. And like I said, so far so good.
One defeat in their last 7 games, which includes their win over Liverpool in the last round. Half an hour in now. Just a reminder, if this game was to stay level through the 90 minutes, just as happened at Bournemouth earlier on today, it would be extra time, penalties if required, to see who goes through to the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. You might have heard over the weekend, for the first time, the new semi-automatic offside technology is being used in this game. There were 7 ties this round, which have got Premier League clubs at home, and those are the games that they're trialling the new software. Mixed results so far, I think it's fair to say. There's been 1 or 2 teething problems earlier on today, which I'm sure you'll have heard about, as Grealish tries to stretch on the far side, can't keep the ball in play, and a big roar from the Plymouth Argyle fans as a Manchester City error there gives them a throw in midway inside the City half. 0-0.
Plezaguelo, the centre back for Plymouth, is just jogging over. They've got a throw in halfway through their attacking third, if you like, and they're just setting it up. This is what they've been working for, set pieces. They're just taking their time, delivering something that they've clearly worked on the training ground.
Bezaguelo again takes the throw in into the penalty area. Tolovierov tries to flick it on. Nathan Aki, clever, just nods it out to the box, runs on onto it himself and clears away left-footed. Not very far, mind you, and it comes straight back towards the edge of the City penalty area. Bundu wasn't able to control, but Plymouth do hold on to possession. Ogbeta on the left-hand side gives it up to Mumba. Back to Ogbeta again. City working hard out of possession, trying to put Plymouth under pressure, but Plymouth are dealing with it well so far as it's played back to Big Katic, Nikola Katic, the former Rangers player. As we go for an update to Celtic's game at St Mirren, there's a penalty. Gavin Wallace.
To Celtic corner as Dyson Maida was upended. Annie Engels takes a couple of steps and rings it right down the middle. Zach Hemming with no chance, and we should go in at half time. St Mirren 1, Celtic 2.
Thank you very much, Gavin. Here at the Etihad in the FA Cup, Plymouth Argyle are on the attack as Sorinola tries to cross and the ball ricochets out for a throw in on the far side, down by the corner flag that Plymouth attack. City, as we've seen all season against all manner of opponents, can sometimes look vulnerable when teams counter-attack against them, and Plymouth just hoping to catch their illustrious opponent's goal.
Yeah, well, Milan Muric, the new Plymouth manager's style is to get the wing-backs high. In this game, he's appreciated that they can't always do that, but that one moment then was when they did get their wing-backs high. They've got a throw in a really good area, really deep in Manchester City's defensive third. They're just going to launch it into the box.
Yep, some tall targets to aim for as it's flicked on by Katic, but kind of rolled down the back of his neck rather than a proper flick on, and City were able to clear the ball away. But in Talierov, Katic, Bundu, three extremely tall players. Jabi's not exactly small, Boateng either, that they're a big team physically. Plymouth Argyle as Vitores jumps and wins possession for City, but fortunate not to lose it there as Bernardo Silva plays it forward just as Foden retreated towards him. And you know, those crossed wires that have hampered Manchester City all season, more evidence of it here. You know, you think back to a year ago, what a well-oiled machine this City team was, and everyone on each other's wavelength, and they're trying things and continually coming off, and everything much more laboured at the moment for the team in Sky Blue. Bernardo Silva gives the ball away. Rico Lewis bravely lunges in. I think he's hurt himself in doing that, but he wins possession back. Lewis back up at his feet. McAtee gives it out to the left-hand side of midfield. Kevin De Bruyne allows it roll through his feet, knowing that Jack Grealish is in behind. Grealish, low ball into the penalty area. McAtee waited for it to come to him, and some brave defending again as it's nudged by Katic back to the goalkeeper. Better from City there, but Plymouth deal with it.
Yeah, it's really good defending by Katic, because the ball bounces, ricochets into the box. Jack Grealish with a beautiful little outside of the boot curved cross, and Katic just takes the ricochet and he heads it so composed back to his goalkeeper just to relieve the pressure, and they can then take their 6 seconds just to absorb the enthusiasm away from Manchester City once again.
This is Bezaguelo trying to play a through ball for Callum Wright. It's cut out by Vitores. And here is the young Brazilian again, just on the edge of the Manchester City penalty area. City playing left to right as we look down. There's 5:45 kickoff in the Premier League. We've now got 10 minutes to go until the break as Aki gives it short to Nico O'Reilly on the left-hand side. Long ball, searching for Kevin De Bruyne, who tries to control it, but he's got Boateng all over him, and Katic sweeps across to help, but a poor clearance from Katic. He's given it straight to Jack Grealish. Chance for City here. Foden stabs it in field, controlled by McAtee. Gundogan is up to support, so too Rico Lewis. This is McAtee, edge of the penalty area, tried to little flick that doesn't come off. Plymouth are able to clear it away as Vitores heads the ball out of play, and that's a throw into Plymouth on the left-hand side.
Yeah, it's good sweeping up by Vitores, new centre-back. I think the 2 January signings, himself and Kushinov, of course Marmoush as well. But I think Kushinov in particular, he's not on the bench today, but I think he's been really good, and this is a good opportunity for Vitores to come into the side and instill his authority into Pep Guardiola's mind.
Vitores' one Manchester City performance before today was also in the FA Cup. He started the game against Leyton Orient. He was taken off at half-time in that game. City struggled to make the breakthrough that day too, as a cross here by Wright is just ahead of those teammates arriving, but Rico Lewis didn't deal with that very well, and Mumba's been able to keep the chance alive. Now Ogbeta, edge of the penalty area for Plymouth Argyle, gives it back to Bali Mumba. Now to the edge of the area, Boateng. Shadowing in front of him was McAtee, so there was no chance of a cross. In it comes from Ogbeta eventually, and Vitores slides and puts it out for a corner. Corner to Plymouth Argyle. Could this be their big moment of the Etihad?
Oh, I tell you what, 2 exceptional balls into the box by Plymouth. The latter one here, Ogbeta, he just fizzes it into an area where Reece has to come across and clear it. And the first one before that was Callum Wright. He does exactly the same. He puts it into that area along the 6-yard line. Nobody was there to tap it home. But a really good spell from Plymouth once again.
Manchester City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0. Matthew Sorinola come across to take the corner. He has now started all 3 games in this FA Cup run, all against Premier League opposition. Lofts it in towards the back post. Header is in! Talayerov, the big Ukrainian central defender, scores for Plymouth Argyle in the Championship relegation zone. They lead against reigning Premier League champions Manchester City, and this incredible FA Cup journey for Plymouth Argyle has just hit a new high note. It's Manchester City 0, Plymouth Argyle 1.
Well, we've got a cup tie on our hands, because Plymouth started to grow into the game. They started to feel it, and my word, what a moment for them. An excellent delivery, in-swinging ball into the back, sort of mid-back area, and Talayelov just rises the highest, and he just nods it beyond Ortega. It's a big leap from him, Haaland-like if you like, heads it back across into the back of the net beyond Ortega. Big goal for Plymouth.
Heavens above, 1-0 to Plymouth, who've still not conceded themselves in this FA Cup run. Brentford beaten, Liverpool beaten. At the moment, Manchester City are being beaten. There's a long way to go, but what a story this is. We said that set pieces could be the opportunity. You've got to take those chances, and Talayerov, who got his first goal for Plymouth against Luton 2 games ago in the Championship, scores again. He looks to be quite the recruit, the club record signing. I mean, sturdy in defence, he adds the goals too. What more can you want from a January signing when you're trying to get out of a relegation zone and advance in the FA Cup?
Well, exactly that. This has just now given Plymouth something massive to hold on to, and they would have been happy with a 0-0 draw at half-time and going in, taking on new instructions. But this has just changed the dynamic. City, how are they going to respond? There's already a real intensity shift from De Bruyne there down that left-hand side, but they've got to do something. Plymouth just looks so organised, so compact. They've got something very, very precious to keep hold of right now.
City, you also went behind against Leyton Orient on that shot from inside their own half, and off the crossbar hitting Ortega for the own goal. City were able to come back that day. But, you know, this strange season for Pep Guardiola, and how difficult things that used to be basic and standard for Manchester City, how difficult they are proving to be. City coming on the attack here. Rico Lewis out to Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side. City to the byline. Here comes the cross. Looks to be too much on it. De Bruyne's got to control way out of the far post. Tries to stab it back into the middle, but it's blocked away. Manchester City trying to hold on to the attack here, but they're back now with Vitor Reis, 10 yards outside the penalty area. He plays it immediately to Bernardo Silva. 1 step over. Right foot across. Comes in low. City got to get a corner, and it's half-time at St Mirren, and here's Gavin Wallace.
St Mirren 1, Celtic 2 corner. Jeffrey Schultz opener on 28 was cancelled. A delicious free kick from 20 yards by Declan John. Arnie Engels restored the lead though just before half-time with a nonchalantly finished penalty. St Mirren 1, Celtic 2.
Thanks very much, Gavin. City about to take the corner. Here it comes from Phil Foden. Good delivery, headed just off target. And throwing himself at it was Vitor Reis, looking for a first Manchester City goal. Did well to get his forehead on it, but he couldn't get it on target.
Yeah, it was a good leap, not a brilliant header. It's a really good ball in from Foden. He whips it in with pace. And to be honest with you, just watching the replay, Reis should have done better. You can see what he's trying to do, steer it into that top corner at the near post. Not quite executed correctly.
We heard from Gavin about Celtic leading at the break. Rangers lost earlier on today. Rangers won Motherwell 2 for Barry Ferguson. Other scores in Scotland today. Dundee drew 1-1 at home to St Johnstone. Ross County beat Kilmarnock. In the Championship today there were wins for Coventry and Luton and Middlesbrough, Sheffield United. And here we're watching Championship side Plymouth Argyle leading by a 1-0 away at Manchester City. Ball goes out to play right in front of Pep Guardiola, who's scratching furiously at his beard. And then this is how you know things aren't going well. He's given the evils to a young ball boy who, from this distance, looked like he might be 9 or 10 years of age. And Pep Guardiola was sort of giving a shrug to say, come on, you need to get that ball back and play quicker. I think that sums up a lot of other problems Pep Guardiola has if he's picking on a kid like that.
Yeah, it's a good observation, because the ball boy, to be honest with you, the ball bounced in Pep Guardiola's technical dugout right in front of him.
He didn't
bounced
trap
over
it,
I think he tried to actually. He tried to, and he miscontrolled it. It bounced over to the ball boy, and he's just had a little look at him there and put his hands out to say, come on, we need the ball back in play quicker. But like you say, Connor, that's definitely a reflection of the frustrations that he must be feeling right now.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, when the Plymouth goal went in, apparently they totted around the stadium, a few Plymouth fans, and the tickets have been like gold dust. And some of them had got seats in amongst City supporters as Grealish gets to the byline left-hand side and crosses. Sits up for Kevin De Bruyne, who can't connect with it cleanly, but the reason it looks so unclean is because it took a deflection. It's another Manchester City corner. But yes, I'm told that some City fans complained about the Plymouth Argyle supporters celebrating in amongst them, and some of those have been politely asked to move their positions. So, corner to City. Trailing 1-0, Foden plays it in swinger Nathan Ake jumping, can't get there, and it's going to go this time for a goal kick. City wanted another corner. City are throwing everything at it here, but it's impressive how unflustered Plymouth Argyle have. Now, not that they haven't been troubled, Gundogan hit the post, but their body language, they don't look like fish out of water here at all.
Yeah, it probably works in Plymouth's favour that City are now starting to be a little bit more hurried, more desperate, around what they're doing. There's an increased intensity, and what comes with that is sometimes, the wrong decisions, and Plymouth will be very, very happy for Manchester City to keep doing that. And I wouldn't be surprised, I'm looking at the substitutes bench from Manchester City, I would not be surprised if there's a number of half-time changes, because there's not been enough from certain players in this Manchester City side. Bernardo Silva's not been great, McAtee's not got into the game at all. He's got options on the bench, Guardiola.
Yeah, that is the bad news for Plymouth. There's a lot of strength to come on if City do need it, but Manchester City, well documented, they're not having a good season. 180 million spent in January. Here's Kevin De Bruyne, low shot across the face of goal, touched away by Conor Hazard for a corner again. Now that was the sort of range that you expect Kevin De Bruyne to get it on target, which it appeared he did, but another good save from Conor Hazard. We've just seen the replay. That is a good save, stretching down and pushing it away from trouble as well.
Yeah, it's an exceptional save actually. Really, really good across the goal. De Bruyne's left foot, lovely little weight pass into his path by Jack Grealish.
Here comes the latest in a long succession of City corners. Played into that busy 6-yard box. Plezeguelo's able to head it away. Compared to Katic and Telerov, he looks almost small between the two 6'4", 6'5" giants, but he's the man who headed it away there. City have possession with Nathan Ake inside the Plymouth Argyle half. City playing left to right as we look down, and with half-time quickly veering up upon us now. Just over 30 seconds to go of regulation time in this first period. Jack Grealish, ball at his feet, veers infield from the left wing to a central location. McAtee is challenged by Ogbeta and fouled by Ogbeta. Free kick to Manchester City just outside the penalty area. It is wide on the right-hand side, though. It's probably more of a crossing position than one for a shot, but a platform for Manchester City here as we move into stoppages at the end of the first half, and they trail 1-0.
Yeah, the one time Plymouth player has actually jumped out of their structure a little bit too aggressively, a little bit too eager to win the ball back, and that's what's happened. McAtee just shifts the ball, takes the foul. De Bruyne lining up, Foden lining up a free kick in a very, very inviting area for Manchester City.
One solitary minute to be added on. Foden and De Bruyne standing over this free kick, right-hand side. Just it's a long way out, but Conor Hazard, just as a precaution, has erected a two-man wall anyway, and Foden would be the left-footed in-swinging option. The body language of Kevin De Bruyne suggests that he fancies taking this. Let's see, they're both standing over it. Foden runs over, De Bruyne delivers, and Nico O'Reilly scores. A glancing header, pinpoint accuracy from Kevin De Bruyne, showing his class there. Riley was able to lose his marker. Nice movement from the tall youngster, and what is his last few days as a teenager, he scores his second FA Cup goal.
Yeah, really clean and tidy for Manchester City. Foden runs over the ball, De Bruyne just whips it, wraps his right foot around the ball into a really, really inviting area, zips it in. O'Reilly puts enough purchase on the header that goes beyond Hazard into the far corner. He gets a hand to it, but it's all in the delivery from De Bruyne. There is his range. We haven't quite seen it in recent weeks, De Bruyne's range, but there it is. Big goal from O'Reilly.
O'Reilly's header, the power was critical there because goalkeeper Conor Hazard did get his gloves to it, but such was the power of the header from O'Reilly that it propelled through the wrists and arms of the goalkeeper and into the back of the net it goes. So Manchester City in stoppage time ahead of the break, getting back on level terms, and Poor old Nathaniel Ogbeta, he'll be feeling bad now in the dressing room at half-time because his challenge, which gave away the free kick, which led to the goal, has much improved the mood for Manchester City. Plymouth Argyle, who took their chance, that header from a corner from Delovierov to give Plymouth the lead, but Manchester City biting back and ahead of themselves from a set piece from the impressive youngster Nico O'Reilly. Sends them into the break. You see Manchester City 1, Plymouth Argyle 1.
Yeah, normal service resumes back to 0-0, but 1-1. The same messages, I would assume, will prevail inside that Plymouth dressing room. Be compact, don't jump out, because the one time they did jump out of their structure, they fouled on McAtee, Ogbeta it was, on this left hand side, and that led to the free kick that's led to the equaliser. But it's normal service resumes, but Manchester City have definitely got a few more gears to find, that's for sure. Right,
so it's a decent cup tie, this, it really is, and there could be a few more chapters to write in the second period. Nico O'Reilly, who also scored against Salford City in January, and by the way, that's the first assist that Kevin De Bruyne has had in the FA Cup this season. His right-footed delivery glanced in for 1-1, and Manchester City will be relieved, because you can only imagine the mood around here had they gone in behind. For now, Manchester City 1, Plymouth 1.
Izzy, there was a great interview with Maxim Tolovarov in the Guardian this week, and he talked about how hard it is for him because he wakes up in the morning and he looks at notifications about what's going on in his homeland. And of course, there's been so much going on with regards to Ukraine and Zelensky in the White House in the last 24 hours. That young man has got a lot to think about at the moment, and yet he's playing in an FA Cup tie at the Etihad this afternoon, and at both ends of the pitch he's been superb. Yeah, spot on, Steve, spot on. He's been excellent, he's been really disciplined in that area, and football will be his escape. This is where he can switch off for 90 plus minutes, and he can switch on in terms of the game and just be purely focused on his job, and he's been integral. I mean, that header to open up the scoring here was outstanding. The way he leaped inside the box, there was real purchase on it, it was authoritative, and it was what Plymouth exactly needed to gratify what they've done already in this game. They've got something to hold on to, and of course they've now gone in having conceded, but I still think normal service resumes. Plymouth do look a threat. Absolutely. We've got a cup tie. Izzy, Connor, thank you for the time being. So Manchester City 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. Half-time at the Etihad. Of course, whatever happens there, we will be with you all the way through that game. If it's extra time, if it's penalties, then 6:06 will follow that. So we'll speak to Natalie Pike ahead of 6:06 very shortly. We'll also get reaction to the FA Cup last 16 ties this afternoon. We will hear from Paul Heckingbottom after Preston beat Burnley 3-0. We'll hear from Ben Chilwell after Crystal Palace beat Millwall at home, and Antoine Semenyo, Bournemouth beating Wolves after a 1-1 draw on penalties. So all of that to come. Plus, we're live in Las Vegas. Super League is there. There's commentary later on this evening from 9:30 of Wigan Warriors against Warrington Wolves. So we'll be there all before second half commentary from the Etihad. Let's get the news at 6:35 with Stuart Clarkson.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
Steve, thank you. President Zelensky is at Downing Street for talks with Sir Keir Starmer this evening. He arrived around an hour ago with crowds cheering as he arrived in Westminster. Here's the Prime Minister speaking as they sat down together in number 10.
You're very, very welcome here in Downing Street. As you heard from the cheers on the street outside, you have full backing across the United Kingdom. And we stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take.
Well, Mr Zelensky will attend a summit of European leaders in London tomorrow. It's also understood he'll be seeing the King at Sandringham, and the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, will be live on Sunday with Laura Koonsberg tomorrow morning at 9 on BBC One and the iPlayer. Also this evening, the Kurdish militant group, the PKK, has declared an immediate ceasefire in its 40-year conflict with Turkey. The announcement was made 2 days after the group's imprisoned leader called for it to disarm. And the Vatican says Pope Francis is stable tonight after suffering what was described as a breathing crisis yesterday. The 88-year-old's been in hospital in Rome for more than a fortnight now, receiving treatment for pneumonia.
Super League. We can hopefully try and get it out to worldwide audiences. Super League heads to the USA.
We don't want to go to bed. We want to watch more rugby league.
Wigan Warriors take on Warrington Wolves live in Las Vegas. Yeah, it's unbelievable, to be able to get hopefully so many eyes on this great game.
It's really exciting, the type of things that they do.
Run as hard as you can, tackle as hard as you can.
Tonight from 9:30.
Ask your smart speaker to play 5 Sports Extra.
This is 5 Live Sport.
The FA Cup with Steve Crossman.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
So Manchester City won, Plymouth, Argyle won. Second half commentary in the FA Cup on the way. Bournemouth are through to the quarter-finals for just the third time in their history. They eventually beat Wolves in a penalty shootout. The game ended 1-1 after 120 minutes. Let's hear from Bournemouth's Antoine Semenyo speaking to Robin Cowan.
Well, Antoine, that game pretty much had everything. What was it like to play it?
Yeah, it was end-to-end stuff, really. I feel like everyone's legs started to go after 90 minutes, but we gave our all. We knew we still had energy and extra time, and yeah, went to pens, and luckily we won, so grateful. Got
there in the end. Did you feel like could have had it done a bit earlier than that?
Yeah, I think we could have done it in 90 minutes, if I'm honest. We had so many chances in the first and second half, and even into extra time as well. But, I mean, most important, we got the win and into the next round, so the boys are happy.
Is that something that perhaps has been a bit of a frustration this season? There's been quite a few games where you create so much and you don't quite get over the line sometimes?
Yeah, I think so. I think as a group, I think we just need to be a bit more clinical when it comes to those things, and maybe in the table we'll be higher. But at this moment in time, we're just going to enjoy this win and see who we get in the next round.
In the hats, and I know yourself, you've been talking about getting to Wembley. I know it's another game to go, but that must be in your sights.
Yeah, 100%. I think now we've got the win, we'll just see who we get tomorrow and then just prepare for that, really. But I think the boys are ready to go.
Double blow, though, for Wolves. Not only did they lose, but they also had Matheus Cunha sent off. Well, he got himself sent off. Violent conduct. It's his second suspension of the season. That could easily be at least a 4-game ban. So that could be Everton, Southampton, West Ham and Ipswich. 4 massive games for Wolverhampton Wanderers. He may well miss all of them. Elsewhere, Preston beat their Lancashire rivals Burnley 3-0 at Deepdale. They get into the quarter-finals of the FA Cup for the first time since 1966. Here's manager Paul Heckingbottom.
Today, obviously, we've come out on the right end, and I think the performance merited that. We were good, and I'm delighted that the atmosphere was crackling, and obviously our fans have gone home happy today.
You're the first manager to guide Preston to the last day of the FA Cup since England won the World Cup, so you must be delighted with that, Gene.
Yeah, that's obviously something I only discovered this week, and so for the fans, the club, it's a big victory, and that's an astonishing fact. I found it astonishing. Club with this history, the amount of good teams it's had. That's a big thing. And for the supporters now, they can sit tight and get excited about the draw.
They're joined by Crystal Palace, who are through to the quarter-finals thanks to a 3-1 win over 10-man Millwall at Selhurst Park. There was a massive moment in just the 8th minute. Millwall keeper Liam Roberts was sent off. He made a head-high challenge on Palace striker Jean-Philippe Mateta. Mateta had to go to hospital after that. He's posted this since on Instagram. Thank you for all your kind messages. I'm doing well. I hope to be back very soon and stronger than ever. Well done, guys, for the great job today. I love you, JP. Here's Mateta's Palace teammate, Ben Chilwell.
We knew what the game was going to be today. It was never going to be the prettiest of games. It's a derby. We knew Millwall were going to make it difficult. They were going to make it a fight. Their fans were loud the whole game, so got behind them. And our fans were brilliant as well. And obviously, I think probably the first, pretty much until they scored their goal, we controlled the game. And then they scored just before half-time, which was, a bit disappointing. And then the second half, we knew they were going to come out. It was, we had a 1-goal lead and they made it difficult again. And second half was not as pretty as we would have liked. We didn't control the game as much as we would have liked, but Eddie gets a great header for the third goal to settle us down a little bit going into the last 10 minutes. And I think the important thing today was to progress, to get into a quarter-finals of a cup is a great achievement. Obviously not as far as we want to go, but it's a great achievement to get into the quarter-finals. And I think the win, a derby, is the most important.
And the Football Association say they're going to investigate homophobic chants by Millwall supporters aimed towards Chilwell during the match. The FA have also condemned chanting about Jean-Philippe Mateta from the away end whilst he was receiving treatment, but they've said those do not breach their regulations. In the Championship, leaders Leeds United held to a 1-1 draw by West Brom. Second place Sheffield United won at QPR. That reduces the gap at the top to 3 points, and they're 4 above Burnley now. At the other end, Luton's first win in 13 games saw them move off the bottom. They've been replaced by Derby, who lost at Middlesbrough. Here's Luton manager Matt Bloomfield.
It's a big relief to get the first one. It's been too long. It's taken a while. Not what I wanted when we joined, but it was lovely to share that moment with our supporters at the end. Because they back their football club, they love their football club. They're hearing their numbers every single week, and they've had a tough time. So to just see them smiling at the end was lovely. This result today doesn't dissipate the disappointment of the last few weeks. That's going to drive us on, but it certainly will help build belief and confidence, and we've got 3 games till the international break, and we want to make sure we put more points on the board.
Right, second half commentary on the way from the Etihad. Manchester City 1, Plymouth 1. Whatever happens, extra time and penalties if needed. Then 6:06 with Natalie Pike and Robbie Savage. Natalie's with us. Afternoon.
Afternoon, yes. I'd love to hear from fans tonight. So many fans tonight, because of course there's no Premier League football today that gives you the opportunity to get on and speak about your club. It's 08085 909 693. Of course, FA Cup magic. We love the FA Cup weekend. Palace fans love the FA Cup weekend. Palace fans, are you dreaming now into the quarter-finals? Absolutely on fire at the minute. We'd love to hear from Palace fans. But also that sad news in the Palace game, that horrific tackle on Mateta. Liam Roberts sent off for Millwall. What did you make of that tackle, the handling of the tackle, everything around that? We want to hear from you. 08085 909 693. Also, Preston fans, first time in the quarter-finals of the FA Cup since 1966. We'd like to hear from you. And Bournemouth fans as well. You're through. How are you feeling? Wolves fans, though, what's Cunha doing again? Want to hear from you. 08085 909 693. And then Championship, League One, you're all welcome today. Get your calls booked in with us now.
Challenge for you. See if you can say Preston into the quarterfinals for the first time since 1966, more than I have this afternoon. I reckon I'm in the 15 to 20 bracket somewhere.
I'm going to aim for it, thank you. I like a challenge.
All right, thanks, Natalie. Natalie Pike with Robbie Savage for 6:06 08085 909 693. Get your calls in. Big story in Scotland earlier today. Barry Ferguson, first home game in charge of Rangers, and it ended in defeat to Motherwell by 2-1. What about St Mirren and Celtic? Gavin Wallace.
If we keep going like this, Steve, then we'll have 1966 amount of goals. It's 2 each now. Killian Phillips, it fell to him just the edge of the box and kind of scissor kick volleyed it into the back of the net. Kasper Schmeichel, no chance. St Mirren 2, Celtic 2.
Thank you very much, Gavin. So Gavin will keep us up to date with that one. Next, we're going to Las Vegas from 9:15 tonight on 5 Sports Extra, live coverage of Wigan's Super League match against Warrington. Here's Wigan boss Matt Peat.
Very proud. I believe it's a privilege, and with that comes a responsibility towards our own club, but also to British Super League. I think we have a responsibility to put on a good game, to compete fiercely with Warrington, but also to work with Warrington to promote this game and conduct ourselves in the best possible manner.
How easy is it to prepare in a normal way for this as a Super League game? Because obviously it is, everything is about it is a Super League game, but it feels very different.
Yeah, it is very different. It's unique. There's a lot for the players to take on this week, and it's important that they do experience it and enjoy a little bit of Las Vegas, but also knowing that they're going to enjoy it that much more if they perform on Saturday. So probably has somewhat of the challenges of a Wembley experience, where you go down to London, or even a grand final where there's so much media coverage around the week. And we've got some experience of those kind of events, but this is another level.
9:30 this evening, 5 Sports Extra. Delighted to say we can bring in our reporter Adam Wilde, who's in Las Vegas. Adam, you got the hot ticket. Paint us some pictures.
Oh, it's absolutely extraordinary. Hearing from Matt Peat there, we've just seen a huge image of Matt Peat's face up on the big screen here at the Allegiant in downtown Vegas. It is one of the most extraordinary sports arenas I have ever been into. It is completely state-of-the-art. They had the Super Bowl here last year. Now it's gearing up for Super League. We knew it was going to be amazing. You know, this is Vegas, it's big, it's brash, but walk around the city, all the billboards are for rugby league. There's tens of thousands of fans. About 12 to 15,000 from the UK have flown in for this, but thousands more from Australia, from New Zealand, and hopefully quite a few from the United States as well. It's been a carnival. It's been a full party atmosphere throughout the week here in Vegas.
They need the action to live up to the setting, don't they? This needs to be a really, really big, good game, and why shouldn't it be?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's the whole point, isn't it? It's to put rugby league on a platform. It's to get eyes on the sport, and it's to impress people. You know, it's quite easy to forget, isn't it? Given all the distractions, there is actually a Super League game. And, of course, don't forget a Women's International coming up later on this evening. Wigan against Warrington, 2 of the top teams in British Rugby League. Wigan, sweeping all before them last season. Warrington beaten in that Challenge Cup final, so they'll want a bit of revenge. So they're absolutely desperate to put on the show. The women, too, taking on the famous Australian Jillaroos, who are the world champion. They're desperate as well to put the women's game on the map. Two really mouth-watering ties, including the British team's two amazing looking NRL games as well. It's going to be absolutely fantastic, Steve.
Great stuff, Adam. Thank you very much. That's Adam Wilde in Las Vegas. And as I say, 9:30 this evening, 5 Sports Extra. That's where you can hear the full commentary. Looks like we're about ready to go in the second half. Maybe the big story of the FA Cup last 16 is about to be written at the Etihad. Manchester City won, Plymouth won. Izzy Christensen's with Conor McNamara.
Thanks very much, Steve. So here is the re-emergence of the Manchester City team, led out by their Belgian captain Kevin De Bruyne, whose delivery of that free kick just before half-time has shifted some of the balance back towards Manchester City on a day they were afraid things were going to run away from them. An early goal that had put Plymouth ahead, City equalising just before the break, and Pep Guardiola's making a change here at half-time. He's bringing on Ruben Diaz in place of Nathan Ake, so a change for City in defence. It would appear that Plymouth Argyle are unchanged. They will resume this second half with the same 11 that started it.
Yeah, Diaz was actually sent by Pep Guardiola to warm up about 43 minutes in the first half. He obviously had it in mind that he was going to change Ake. And of course we know with Ruben Diaz, City call on him when they need experience, they need leadership. He always steps onto the pitch with a strut, a swagger and a real authority about him. It'll be very interesting to see how Manchester City respond and attack this second half.
Ruben Diaz, who hasn't played an awful lot lately, as we get back underway. The Portuguese defender started at Tottenham on Wednesday. That was his first Premier League start since the Manchester derby back in mid-December. The ball is cleared away long and searching by Pleguezuelo. Down the left-hand side, kept in play by Callum Wright, crossing position, and it's blocked away out for a throw-in down by the corner flag. A touch away off Vitor Reis. So City have got Vitor Reis and Ruben Diaz as their two central defenders. Rico Lewis and goalscorer Nico O'Reilly either side of them as the fullbacks. Then in midfield, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva and Ilkay Gundogan, with James McAtee and Jack Grealish either side of Phil Foden in attack. I'll give you the Plymouth Argyle 11 in just a moment, but they've got this throw-in which Pleguezuelo sends in. The referee's whistle goes as someone was pushing into someone. Free kick to Manchester City on the edge of the area, and Stefan Ortega will take that free kick. So Conor Hazard, who made a couple of good saves, denied Kevin De Bruyne before the equaliser did come for City. In defence they've got Sorinola and Torreira, who scored, Pleguezuelo, Katic, Obeta, who gave away that free kick that led to the City equaliser before the break. Darko Jabi, I should say, on loan from Leeds United, alongside Malaki Boateng in the midfield. Up top, the green boots and the number 15 on his back, Mustafa Bundu, leading the line, the Sierra Leone forward, but Callum Wright just off him, and Bali Mumba as well. Nico O'Reilly has possession for City. City playing from right to left as we look down now. Jack Grealish hugging the touch on the left-hand side, gives it infield to Ilkay Gundogan, who hit the post in the first half. It's 1-1 here on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Foden gets it, but he's pushed to the back by Katic straight away, and Manchester City have to retreat back to the halfway line, is he?
Yeah, the way that Gundogan moves the ball, yes, he's dropped off a little since he went to Barcelona, came back to the club. But the way he shields the ball and the way he moves it in midfield, I mean, you don't lose that technical craft. And the way he turns is just such a joy to watch.
Bernardo Silva has it for City on the right-hand side. Pulls the ball back for Vitor Reis. 10 yards outside the penalty area. Infield to Gundogan. Helps it on to Grealish, who's inside the box. Jack Grealish rolls it under his studs. Nice manoeuvre. Sends in a low cross just behind Bernardo Silva. That was good from Grealish. That was a bit of the Grealish of old, an acceleration, quick dispatch of the cross, fizzed through a few bodies. The closest to it was Bernardo Silva. Plymouth Argyle quite relieved there not to go behind for the first time of the game. Grealish has it again for City on the left wing. Gives it to James McAtee up against Torreira, who's done well. And the big Ukrainian comes away with possession from the right full-back position until he's eventually blocked down by Kevin De Bruyne, and that will be a throw into the visitors. Manchester City 1, Plymouth Argyle 1 for now.
Yeah, Plymouth's goal scorer Talierov, they're just shielding the ball away from McAtee, who'd made that run from midfield into the channel beyond Grealish, and he just read it so well, swept up, relieved pressure, got a throw in, and just managed to let his team settle a little to what's been quite a frantic start to the second half.
Yes, this is Rico Lewis in possession. Gives it short to the half-time substitute, Ruben Diaz. More FA Cup games to come tomorrow. Newcastle against Brighton is at 1:45, and Manchester United against Fulham is the 4:30 start. On Monday we'll bring in Nottingham Forest against Ipswich. That is the Monday night game to conclude the FA Cup 5th round. De Bruyne stretching. City going to lose possession here. Talierov plays it all nice, neat, one-touch stuff here. Callum Wright gets a touch. The number 11 now running along the halfway line from right to left. This needs to be a good pass up towards Mumba. First touch a bit heavy, but he continues the flow here. Tries to give it out to the far side till Bernardo Silva nips in to win it back for Manchester City. And then he commits a foul, does he, Bernardo Silva? No, the referee says play on. Plymouth Argyle have possession anyway. And Nikola Katic will turn and roll it back to the goalkeeper, Conor Hazard.
Doing, a bit of prep for this game, and you're looking at a player that will provide a spark for Plymouth. All of the stats and the research told me it was Callum Wright, and he's played really well. Anything good that Plymouth has done in this game so far has come through him. He just traversed across the pitch there and unleashed a brilliant little through ball. Bernardo Silva ended up snuffing it out, but anything good has come through Callum Wright.
Manchester City attack down the left-hand side, but Grealish unable to get past that man, Callum Wright, that is, he was discussing. And then Ruben Diaz commits a foul on Mustafa Bundu, and that's a free kick to Plymouth Argyle, 15 yards or so outside of their penalty area. So City yet to get any sort of dominance in the game, dominance on the scoreboard. 1-1 for now. A reminder, if it was to stay like this, if it's level after 90 minutes, we would have extra time, as there was at Bournemouth earlier on today. Penalties if required, as Bournemouth did to dispatch Wolves, who finished with 10 men after Mateus Cunha was dismissed. Manchester City here, 7 times winners of the FA Cup. They're hoping to be in that draw for the quarter-final tomorrow. Conor Hazard takes the free kick, and he's launched it straight down the middle. There's no teammate on the end of that. Vitor Hish is able to clear away. Foden battles well for it. The loose ball rolls for Bernardo Silva here, who's pushed it on ahead onto James McAtee. Plymouth Argyle working hard to get players back. McAtee still a good 10 yards short of the penalty area. Out by the touchline on the far side from us. The Riders City come forward. Now Gundogan drops a shoulder into the penalty area. He goes to the byline to pull it back. Bernardo Silva so close to finishing, and Conor Hazard saves again. City incisive there, almost running it in, but Plymouth survive, and it's still 1-1.
Has to score. Bernardo Silva, perfect timing arrival. Gundogan, we said about how he glides through the midfield at times with the ball. He picks up the pace, glides to the touchline, cuts it back. And Bernardo Silva, I think he's just trying to be a bit too soft and deft with the finish.
Here comes City again. Foden's low ball into the penalty area wasn't great. Talierov is able to get a touch on it, and then the whistle blows, and it's a free kick to Plymouth Argyle anyway. Right on the edge of their penalty area down below us. Guardiola with both arms outstretched there. What's going on kind of emotion, as he plunges those hands deep back into his pockets again and turns away from the action briefly to look back towards the technical area seats. 1-1 here. Manchester City 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. Conor Hazard getting ready to take this free kick just outside his own penalty area. Plays it left-footed up over the halfway line, but too far in front of Mumba, and that carries all the way through to Stefan Ortega. Ortega, who was credited with an own goal in the last round of the FA Cup against Leyton Orient. That shot from distance that came back off the crossbar hit the German and went in. Here's another German, Ilkay Gundogan. Cross the centre circle to Ruben Diaz. City step into Plymouth Argyle territory. Nico O'Reilly, who scored the headed goal from a free kick that levelled the game up at 1-1 just before half-time. He plays it infield to Phil Foden here, back to Ruben Diaz once again. Plymouth is sitting quite deep now. Most of their players just on the edge of their own penalty area. City come at them again. Such concentration needed when you're up against this Pep Guardiola team, as Rico Lewis has it down by the corner flag that City attack on the right-hand side. And then they come back in field looking for a bit of space here with Ruben Diaz. And across to Nico O'Reilly. Only 19 years of age, but he's so tall as well. He's well over 6 foot. And he'll give it back into Ruben Diaz once again. Plymouth at the moment struggling to get a touch. Bernardo Silva, 10 yards outside the box. Right-hand side of City come forward, running up against Ogbeta. Ogbeta's done well, helped out by Mumba. Plymouth Argyle regained possession. Bezeguelo looks to clear it away accurately up towards Bundu, and then the appeal that Bundu was fouled there, and the referee agrees. Free kick to Plymouth Argyle, left full-back position for them.
Yeah, it's brilliant play from Bundu. He's been very isolated at times in this game, but when called upon, he's dropped in, he's protected the ball, and he's just bided his time a little bit just to take the foul. He spins away from Vitor Reis. He does really well. Reis has to tackle him down, pulls him to the floor, and then again it bides Plymouth this time that they need just to absorb Manchester City's momentum.
Plenty more live football coming up over the next few days on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. FA Cup tomorrow and Monday. Champions League last 16 first legs are on 5 Live this week. On Tuesday we'll bring you Bruges against Aston Villa. It's a tea time game followed by PSV Arsenal. That's at 8 o'clock. And on Wednesday, Paris Saint-Germain against Liverpool. An 8 o'clock kickoff. You can listen here on 5 Live. You can also on Thursday hear Real Sociedad against Manchester United. We will be in San Sebastian for the Europa League last 16. Again, that's a tea time game. It's a 5:45 kickoff. So between the European games and the FA Cup games, a lot of live football coming up over the next week or so on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. As Ruben Diaz has possession for Manchester City, 15 yards inside his own half, rolls it to the right hand side to a 19-year-old Vitor Reis, the January signing from Palmeiras in Brazil. Back into Ruben Diaz once again. When he's in the team, City do tend to concede far fewer goals than when he's absent. This is De Bruyne to Gundogan just outside the D. Now across to Bernardo Silva. Familiar pattern to this for City. That's a dangerous cross in, but Grealish can't get there ahead of Soriola. And Plymouth Argyle survive and clear the ball away. Kevin De Bruyne again, 10 yards outside the penalty area. To Bernardo Silva, lovely first touch there to elude Ogbeta. Now he delivers it in, but Telierov is there to head it out for a Manchester City corner. 1-1 it remains, Plymouth Argyle hanging on.
Yeah, it's just two little chopped, dinked balls in by Bernardo Silva with the lovely weight to them. And there's one thing I'm thinking of when he's putting that ball in, Erling Haaland. He's on the bench, he's warming up down the touchline, but there's two there that he's got a fantastic view of where he's warming up that I'm sure he would have been like, I want them.
Yeah, Erling Haaland, who missed the Real Madrid and Liverpool games recently, was back in the team and scored against Tottenham on Wednesday. Might have had a second goal at the end of that game, but it was disallowed. As Jack Grealish comes forward here. And you'd imagine that Pep Guardiola wouldn't be sending Erling Haaland out for the warm-up run unless he was thinking of using him here. This is Bundu back into the midfield to Boateng. They're trying to get a bit of football going here, Plymouth Argyle. Plezeguelo out to the left-hand side. This is all still inside their own final third, though. Ogbeta turns back at himself, rolls it to Plezeguelo once again. But this is better now. This is a bit of structure to Plymouth Argyle. They have it on the edge of their penalty area. Boateng spins it out here to the near side. A little bit high for Sorinola to control easily. So Nick O'Reilly's going to nip in, but City do get possession back, but they're back inside their own half. Just the 60 seconds there where Plymouth Argyle played a bit of football, and they're going to need to do that because you can't survive under constant Manchester City pressure. They're going to score eventually.
Yeah, it's spot on. It's very hard to escape the structure that they're in. They're in a 5-4-1, and it's just really difficult to get out of that structure without using the number 9, Bunda.
Grealish to Kevin De Bruyne, tries to cross, comes off Telierov's head, and then an acrobatic effort from the arriving Rico Lewis, but he can't keep it down. He smashed that. He's only 10-12 yards out. It remains Manchester City 1, Plymouth 1.
Yeah, it's just a ricochet. De Bruyne receiving the ball in the edge of the box, does a really nice little turn, spins. The second phase just arrives to Rico Lewis, and the scissor kick technique. The ball is dipping. It got an ooh from the crowd, but it was about a foot over the crossbar.
Yes, that little motion, the little jump in the air. He is, to a high degree, a trained kickboxer, is Rico Lewis, and that certainly had a bit of kickboxing manoeuvre about it, the way he kicked the ball there.
It certainly did, and I think going back to the Premier League game last weekend at Liverpool, Rico Lewis was outstanding. He was absolutely brilliant. I mean, albeit they lost to Liverpool, but I thought if there was one player who competed and stood out for Manchester City, it was Rico Lewis. I thought he was brilliant.
A big moment of the game about to happen here, and I think it'll be interesting to see the reaction of Plymouth to this, because Erling Haaland is going to come on. Now, his goal-scoring record demands that this is not necessarily any bit of good news for Plymouth Argyle. However, your big day out, you come to the Etihad, you've already beaten Liverpool. I think they'll want to play the mighty Erling Haaland. They wouldn't want to be against a City that don't have it. But here's Rico Lewis again, and again it's over the top. Pulled back by Grealish, who spun off the pitch himself in teeing up Rico Lewis, and that one was an easier chance than the first. Now, it wouldn't have counted anyway. Grealish was offside in the build-up, but Rico Lewis will be disappointed not to have hit the target there.
Yeah, it's pretty poor from Rico Lewis, to be honest. The ball cut back. All the Plymouth players had dropped right off. He had time, he had space just to pick out the finish. It's beautiful the way it cuts back. He even had time to take a touch, and he just skies it. It's McAtee.
Right, James McAtee, who has impressed off the bench in recent months for Manchester City, but never really got involved in the cut and thrust of this cup tie as a starter. He goes off to allow the arrival of Erling Haaland. 10 goals in his last 11 games. City may be out of sorts this season, but this guy's goal record is still up there with the very best of them.
Yeah, it's a joke, really, his goal-scoring record. But what does this do for Plymouth, right? McAtee, who's been dropping in a little bit like a Foden, the way he sort of plays, drops in, links play. Plymouth now, they don't have an extra player to deal with in central areas. They've got one job, it's the back two almost, with Katic and Talielov, is just to mark Haaland. They know what City are going to try and do now. The changes of crosses, they're going to start hanging them in the air for Haaland to win the headers. This will be a real interesting battle. Now Haaland's come on. Sorry, Connor.
Yes, Katic and Talielov, particularly those two, will have been preparing for this. They'll have expected to play against Haaland today, and they'll be ready, battle-hardened, ready for this. As Vitor Reis comes forward for Manchester City. 1-1 here, Manchester City against Plymouth Argyle in the FA Cup. Place in the quarter-final at stake as Phil Foden sends a cross-field ball, launched that, and it landed on the instep of Jack Grealish from 45 yards away. Grealish plays it back into the middle, too high for Erling Haaland. Thought he was going to get his first touch there. Foden waits for the ball to come down. He's judged that well, however, taken away from him by JB. Then JB can't hold on to it, and Manchester City regain possession with Bernardo Silva on the far side. Increasingly, Plymouth are having to play deeper and deeper. Kevin De Bruyne to the near side. City's left. Jack Grealish, hair flowing behind him as he veers infield. Tries to sell a dummy to Callum Wright, who's not buying any of that, and Wright is sticking doggedly to the task here, trying to force Jack Grealish back. Eventually Grealish releases it to Nico O'Reilly. Now Kevin De Bruyne looks for the feet of Rico Lewis. City are going to do well not to lose the ball here as sliding in. Talielov is there to clear the ball away, but the trouble is there's nobody apart from Bundu to try and receive those clearances, so time and again City get it back again.
Yeah, there's about 2 metres in between each unit for Plymouth, between the back four, the midfield four, and then Bundu. Like you say, he's just playing a very isolated role. He's dropped in, he's filling space. Plymouth are so compact, and it's going to look like this for the next 30 odd minutes.
Bernardo Silva back to Phil Foden, shoots but can't get the bend on it, and it's wide of the target. He was hoping it would just veer from left to right and nestle into the net, but Connor Hassett didn't flinch too much, and I think the keeper knew from the moment that was struck that it was going wide of the target.
Yeah, it's interesting because as soon as Haaland comes onto the pitch, there's been 60 seconds, Foden gets his first shot on target. Well, sorry, it wasn't on target, but he gets his first shot off, which says a lot about the Foden-Haaland relationship, what it does, because Foden's been playing in that false nine role, and now he's got licence to drop deeper and start linking.
Let's go back to St Mirren against Celtic. There's a goal for Gavin Wallace.
A 5-goal thriller so far, 68 on the clock, Connor, and Yang has scored at the back post for Celtic. Ball floated in, he's there on his own to head home. St Mirren 2, Celtic 3.
And here's a chance, it's Bundu into the penalty area and he can't get the shot away. Ruben Diaz turns and roars at the referee, and the lines with the flag does eventually go up. Bundu would have been offside anyway, but as is the protocol, they allowed it to continue there before the flag went up, and Ruben Diaz wanted that flag raised earlier. We're seeing the replay. I mean, he's well offside, a couple of paces offside.
Yeah, he drifts off, ball over the top, but that's a warning sign for Manchester City, just to be aware that when Plymouth do start to get a little bit of territory, they're willing to go in behind and play on the counter.
Earlier on today in the FA Cup, Crystal Palace are through. They beat Millwall. Preston had a 3-0 win against Burnley. Bournemouth through on penalties, having eliminated Wolves. And here for the moment, Manchester City 1, Plymouth 1, as Plymouth prepared to make a triple change, we think. Jordan Houghton getting ready to come on, Rami Al-Hajj and Michael Baidu. They're all going to come on together, it would seem, here, as Miran Mushlish tries to just keep everything fresh and keep concentrated minds down there, because fatigue of the brain can work against you as much as anything when you're trying to defend against this Manchester City team. 1-1 for the moment. Reis tries to pick out Jack Grealish, but it wasn't as good a ball as the pass from a similar angle from Phil Foden earlier on, and then clash of heads, was it, as Callum Wright collided with Kevin De Bruyne. The referee has blown the whistle anyway, and it's at the very least going to be a delay in play. I think he's given the free kick to Manchester City there. De Bruyne is up to his knees, but he's not yet back up to his feet.
Yeah, I'm just watching a replay now. Callum Wright, he's really thrown himself around. I think he's been excellent out of possession. He's been super aggressive. He's stuck to Grealish like glue when Grealish goes on his little mazy runs. Callum Wright has just matched him every step. He does just catch De Bruyne there when the ball's in the air. They're both competing to try and win the ball.
Yeah, he jumps. I mean, it's not like a on-purpose elbow or anything, but his arm does strike with the head of Kevin De Bruyne, and that's why the Belgian went down. So Rami Al-Hajj is coming on, Swedish midfielder. He scored against Sunderland and Bristol City in January in the Championship, so he's had a few recent goals. Jordan Houghton is going to come on. Michael Baidu as well, who's not played all that often. 7 championship appearances in Plymouth Argyle colours so far this campaign. And amongst those coming off, Mustafa Bundu. JB is coming off, and Bali Mumba as well. So 3 on, 3 off as Plymouth look to hang into this cup tie. They are doing well. You know, forget about FA Cup, whatever. Very few teams come here to the Etihad Stadium and reach the 64th minute when we're in and not be behind. And you know, you can say this isn't vintage Manchester City, they're not performing at their best, but still very few teams by this stage will not be behind against them here. It's a huge credit to Plymouth, and the big question is, can they keep it up?
Yeah, I think it's really good management from Milan Muric here. You can see the momentum of the game was starting to shift when Haaland came on, and what he's done is he's just slowed it down by making a triple change there, just to let his team reset. And for the second reason, those changes just allow fresh legs. I think you mentioned it there, Connor, around the mental fatigue. If anything, to stay this organised and this disciplined, it's so difficult, especially in these latter stages when the physical effort starts to decrease. The mental intensity needs to sort of increase, if you like. Nothing silly.
Plymouth haven't had a shot since the 38th minute, and Manchester City, who've had 9 shots in total in the game, but 1-1 it remains here at the Etihad. 5 Live and BBC Sounds, the FA Cup. As Nico O'Reilly, City's goal scorer today, gives it infield to Ruben Diaz. City building out from the back. Vitor Reis, this young central defender, gives it back to the experienced Ruben Diaz. Now to Jack Grealish, who's seen plenty of the ball today. There's been 1 or 2 sparkles, the Jack Grealish of old, but in the main, Sorinola's done a decent job keeping close to Manchester City's number 10. H to O'Reilly. O'Reilly finds Grealish, comes infield of Callum Wright now. Wright's going to pursue him all the way here and actually nudges into Jack Grealish. It's a foul, and the referee walks across to have a word. He's not reaching for his pocket, but I think we'll put that down as a warning. That was quite a deliberate shove by Callum Wright and Jack Grealish. It was more than just letting him know he was there.
He's done it all game. Noticed in the first half as well. He's clearly been assigned the task to get close to him and rattle him. A lot of players do that against Grealish because they know that he might react, but he's so good at protecting the ball, Jack Grealish. He's so strong.
Plymouth taking the shot lead here. Manchester City back on level terms. And we're waiting to see which way the pendulum swings next as Bernardo Silva has possession of the right-hand side for Manchester City. Gives it back into Vitor Reis, short to the feet of Kevin De Bruyne. Ruben Diaz is on his left-hand side with a bit of space. Grealish calling for it away to our left-hand side. The ball is played to the boots of Jack Grealish. Comes spinning in off the touchline, accelerating infield. Almost level with the centre of the park now, and he has to turn again, lays it off to Rico Lewis inside the penalty area. Lewis crossing, looking for Erling Haaland, takes a deflection that guides it away from the Norwegian. Nico O'Reilly will now to try and send it in. This time Telierov jumps ahead of Haaland and ensures that he won't win the header. Heish will give it to Rico Lewis inside the penalty area. Lovely dummy sold there, but he can't pick a pass, and it actually ricochets off the shin pad of Ilkay Gundogan, who just wasn't able to react quickly enough, and Plymouth Argyle survive again. 1-1 it remains.
Yeah, they're certainly being uncomfortable, Plymouth. They know that they're going to suffer, and right now they're in a period where they are suffering a lot. Manchester City are on the sustained attack. They're zipping the ball across left to right. Grealish is looking to go 1v1.
Here's Grealish into the penalty area, pushes it out to Nico O'Reilly, and then his low cross is blocked away by Telierov and out for a corner. Manchester City continuing to attack wave after wave. And you know, the Plymouth players will be aware they've hardly made a mistake, any of them today. Ogbeta, bit rash in the first half, gave a free kick, punished. That was the free kick that City scored from, and in the back of their minds they'll all be thinking, please don't let it be me to make the mistake that would allow City to take the lead. Here comes the corner, Kevin De Bruyne ready to take it. Short run up, left hand side as City come forward. Takes his time, rolls it very short to Jack Grealish, back again to De Bruyne. Here's the chance to whip it, goal bound, and Hazard pushes it away. That was going in. Tight angle, long distance. Hazard would have been appalled not to save it, but he still had to get across and push it for the corner.
Oh, I'll tell you what, City, they shift the ball out, and as Plymouth start to step out of the defensive corner setup, De Bruyne, he just steps onto the ball, whips it, and Connor Hazard is so lucky he reacts quickly to tip that over the bar.
Here comes the latest Kevin De Bruyne corner. This one's low. Oh, should have been cleared to the front post by Sarinola. Falls to Foden. Falls to Haaland, who puts it over the top. We've seen him score that exact goal so many times. corner angle of the 6-yard box, leaning back, almost like a windmill as his leg comes crashing through the ball, and usually that hits the top corner. This time it's over the top, and mercifully for Plymouth Argyle, this game remains 1-1.
I'll tell you what, that is close. He catches it well, but it's just rising over the bar. It's a snapshot from Haaland. Just watching the replay, his body preparation is exceptional. The way he opens his hips up and gets ready for the ball to drop, it's almost like he preempts what's going to happen. And it's lucky for Plymouth that sails over the bar.
That's the first big chance that Haaland has had since coming on. That's the warning sign for Plymouth Argyle now. We have reached the 69th minute. Manchester City 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. If it stays level through 90 minutes, it would be extra time, penalties if required, to see who goes into the quarter-final draw, which takes place tomorrow. Let's go back to St Mirren against Celtic. Back to Gavin Wallace.
Still 3-2 to Celtic at the moment, Connor, but what a game this is. Richard Taylor's just at a header, just over the bar ever so slightly. Celtic just before had 3 great chances saved off the life, and Yang could have been his second, but it was offside. But it stays the same. St Mirren 2, Celtic 3.
Thanks very much, Gavin. Here at the Etihad, Manchester City fans have gone a bit quiet. They're waiting for the fireworks to arrive as Grealish lumps one over the top. Haaland was cantering after it, and Nikola Katic slides in to get there first, who puts it out for another corner. I've completely lost count of how many corners City have had today, but it's been tons. Here is the corner taken quickly. De Bruyne to Grealish, trying to step into the penalty area, gives it back to Kevin De Bruyne, looks to shoot again from that similar angle to a moment ago, and Baidu with an acrobatic bicycle kick clears it away out of the penalty area. Again, there's no one to receive for Plymouth because they're being forced to play so deep, so City come at them again. Matthew Sorinola is trapped in by Kevin De Bruyne, the ball goes out of play. They're all appealing they should get the throw in. The officials give it to Manchester City. Grealish challenged immediately by Katic, and that's another throw into City. And now there's going to be another change here, and a change for the visitors. Nathaniel Ogbeta, who gave away that free kick for the City equaliser, he's going to be replaced here, and it's going to be Tim Puhac, the Pole, who comes on loan from Holstein Kiel. He has made 8 championship appearances for Plymouth so far, played in each of the last 2 FA Cup games on this run as Plymouth have knocked out Premier League opponents, and he's going to come on for the closing stages of normal regulation time here. Big number 17 comes running on. So Manchester City have got to throw in. Puhac on to join the defence for Plymouth. Nico O'Reilly, who scored City's goal just before half-time, takes the throw. The timing of that goal was important for City because they would have felt particularly down in the dumps had they gone in behind at the break. City expecting to be able to build on that one goal, but they haven't been able to add to it yet. This is Grealish, left-hand side, stretching to keep the ball in play. Comes in field of Sorinola, head up, scanning the horizon, looking for options to pass to. Goes down clumsily again. I think the referee indicating there that he believes Grealish was fouled there, but he allowed play to continue because Manchester City still have the ball. Ruben Diaz in a central location. As Nico Gonzalez is one of those warming up on the sideline just down below us in a bright orange bib. Ruben Diaz gives it across to Vitor Reis. Constant Manchester City possession here, but most of it outside the penalty area. Plymouth are working really hard to keep City out of the box. Kevin De Bruyne, left corner angle of the area, onto his left boot, hangs in a lovely cross, near to Haaland, but just veered away from him in the last instant, and it's headed out for a throw-in. City remain in the attack on the far side.
Yeah, the first defensive duty for Puhac there, who's coming at left wing back, left back of the back five, however you want to look at it. His first defensive responsibility is just to clear a ball at the back stick. Bernardo Silva was lurking, Haaland was in front of him, and he deals with it really well.
Here is Grealish cutting into the penalty area on the left-hand side. Lovely disguised ball to Kevin De Bruyne. Now, can he deliver? There's so many City players in the penalty area. Kevin De Bruyne tries to dink it in, but it's blocked away by Boateng, and out it goes for another City corner again on the left-hand side. He's got a determined look about him tonight, Kevin De Bruyne. As Haaland takes a position towards the back post from where this is going to arrive. It's very congested. Little stroke of the ball from De Bruyne to get it in. Rico Lewis on the full volley there, cannons into a defender. Too many bodies in the way, but that one was heading towards the target from Rico Lewis there. Plymouth get it away again. They continue to hang on here at 1-1.
Yeah, it's just bringing back my memory for the first half where Gundogan hit the inside of the post as well. Manchester City have had their chances in this game, but so far so much credit needs to go to Plymouth because of their defensive organisation, their teamwork, their togetherness.
It's a classic FA Cup scenario here as Taliarov slides in on Kevin De Bruyne, puts it out for another of these countless City corners they've had in the game, but Plymouth know their job, know what they need to do here. Hang on, I mean, they're not even thinking of scoring a goal themselves now. This is all about how do we stop Manchester City from scoring. De Bruyne, who has tried it all here, he's tried short corners, low corners, deeply struck ones. This one's short again, gets it back from Grealish. Great delivery in towards Haaland. Nico O'Reilly lurking. Somehow Plymouth get it away. Ruben Diaz is shouting for a handball here. He thinks there was a handball in there, and the referee is telling them to delay the throw in. So there's going to be a video assistant referee review of this. De Bruyne looping it in. Haaland was ready to go. Did it come off? Was it Talierov's hand as he jumps? Just looking. It does strike an arm. Now, is that a natural position? This is a tough one. It's Puhac who just came on. What's your verdict on this?
Well. The ball is moving at speed. Let's get that one straight, because De Bruyne and Grealish work the short corner really well again. Just De Bruyne into Grealish, he just sets it back for him, he kisses the ball back to him. De Bruyne just steps onto it, whips it with pace. It's what causes the confusion. My gut is no. Yeah. There's nothing in that. It's a natural position. It's Puhac the substitute. And like you say, you don't want to be the player that comes off the bench and he's that one to cause, potentially City getting back in the game, but They've read their luck again. Yeah, no penalty. There's no doubt it struck the arm. I mean, had he been an attacker scoring as Haaland was at Tottenham on Wednesday, it would have been disallowed. But here's a cross into the penalty area from Foden, just behind Nico O'Reilly, who's increasingly making good runs into the box, and he's a tall player, he's a good target. This is Grealish looking for Haaland! Saved by Hazard! Bernardo Silva following up somehow, incredibly puts it wide. That's incredible. I think it's Blegazuelo who somehow made a block. Connor Hazard made the save. And between them, Erling Haaland and Bernardo Silva had two massive opportunities there. I can't believe they've not scored, Izzy. It's Connor Hazard with the initial save. It's unbelievable. The pass in. Oh my word. The replay. Wow, Connor Hazard, it's just pure reflexes. Haaland looks destined to score, surely nestling in the back of the net. Hazard just sticks out an arm. He just manages to punch the ball away. It falls to Bernardo Silva, and that's harder to miss.
Here's the latest corner. Nico O'Reilly in the back post, heads it down and in. Manchester City lead Plymouth Argyle for the first time. The subs invade the pitch and run to join the celebration. What relief for City against lower league opposition. They were getting worried here, but the corner played in, and for the second time today, it's a header from Nico O'Reilly that puts Manchester City in front. City 2, Plymouth Argyle 1.
Well, what a 30 seconds that is for Plymouth. Euphoria in keeping the ball out the back of the net, but then on the corner, the subsequent corner, it gets whipped in swinger, and it's Nico O'Reilly at the back stick. He just heads it into an empty net, unmarked. I'm just looking at who's marking him. It's Houghton, who's come off the bench. He's got the task at the back stick with Nico O'Reilly, and Nico O'Reilly just bullies him off the ball. There isn't a foul there for me at all. It's just pure strength. He bullies him and he just knocks it down into the back of the net. Plymouth are complaining, they still are, but Nico O'Reilly, 2 headers, who'd have thought?
Well, you can tell he's a popular lad amongst the squad in the dressing room, because Manchester City as a team delighted for Nico O'Reilly here. Referee Craig Pawson still hasn't restarted the game, but I think he's telling Plymouth they've got to. It would appear, we don't have any contact from the VAR, but it would appear that has been checked and the goal does stand. It does. City have got their 2-1 lead. 2 goals from Nico O'Reilly. For the first time today, Pep Guardiola's team have got their noses in front, and now it all ships for Plymouth Argyle. We mentioned before that goal that they weren't even thinking of scoring themselves. It was just trying to keep City at bay. That's got to change now. Plymouth, they're going out of the cup as it stands. They might as well lose this 4-5-1. They've got to give it everything to try and get a goal back.
Yeah, they're attacking the right-hand side to where we are, in front of their away fans as well. They've got to, like you say, they've got to not stick now. They've got to twist, see what they're made of, see what they can do.
Venezuela to take another of these long throws of his from the left-hand side deep into the box. Touch on header by Taliero, but he can't pick up a teammate there. Sorinola gets it back down on the deck. This is the trouble though for Plymouth. As they push forward, as they must do, suddenly it looks a vacuous space that Manchester City can now counter-attack into down the other end of the field. And I'll be surprised if there aren't more goals in this game here because of the way Plymouth are going to be forced to have to play.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. I think Manchester City, although they're very alert in the defensive structure, they will be rubbing their hands together. The likes of Grealish, De Bruyne, Foden, Haaland. What an attacking quartet that is. And they'll be rubbing their hands together to say the gaps are going to open up now. As long as we stay compact, stay central, don't give Plymouth anything.
It took Manchester City until the 76th minute here to take the lead today, but the lead they have got after Plymouth Argyle were 1-0 in front. Nico O'Reilly equalising just before the break, and then the same player putting City in front in this last quarter of an hour. Conor Hazard, who just pulled off a miraculous save to concede the corner that then Plymouth were to concede from. Baidu loses out of possession. You would expect City to have the professionalism now to see this through, but Kevin De Bruyne gives the ball away. This is Sorinola on the halfway line. Gets it back again from Baidu. Plymouth preparing to make another change. City get it back. Vitoresh back to Ruben Diaz, and he'll turn and roll it back to Stefan Ortega, who since picking the ball up of his own net back in the 38th minute, he's not had a whole lot to do with the German goalkeeper. So the player getting ready to come on is Cornel Such, who's the Hungarian, number 6. Manchester City are going to make a change as well. We mentioned that Nico Gonzalez had been down there warming up. Well, he has now taken off his tracksuit top, and Spaniard is ready to enter the fray. And speaking of Nico Gonzalez, who's ostensibly been brought in to replace the injured Rodri, I did see on social media earlier on today that Rodri is back in training. There was videos of him training on his own, but that is very, very good news for Manchester City as they look ahead to next season. As it is, the hope of domestic silverware still alive for Pep Guardiola in the shape of the FA Cup, but it will be Matthew Sorinola who makes way here to allow the substitution to take place, to allow Cornel Such to come on here at the Etihad. Plymouth 1 goal down, Manchester City 2, Plymouth Argyle 1.
Yeah, another change there at wing back from Juric's side. He's had to change a lot of positions on the pitch, the central midfield area, the ones who are covering a lot of grass, and also the wing backs who, you know, in an ideal world, Juric, in the way he sees football, he wants his wing backs nice and high and aggressive, but they've definitely not been allowed to do that today because City have just pinned them back with the ball.
Nico O'Reilly, who has now scored 3 FA Cup goals this season, scored against Salford, 2 today, and he is demanding that Pep Guardiola doesn't forget about him. And he has made a few Premier League substitute appearances in recent weeks, so clearly he has been impressing the manager. As Kevin De Bruyne here plays it back to Victor Resch, and another goal coming our way from the St Mirren Celtic game. Gavin Wallace.
Yeah, Connor, it is St Mirren 2, Celtic 4. Yang finds a lovely ball into Daisen Maeda, and he makes no mistake as he slots it by the oncoming Zach Hemming. St Mirren 2, Celtic 4.
Thanks very much, Gavin. Manchester City 2, Plymouth Argyle 1 here in the FA Cup. Jack Grealish in possession, turning, twisting, trying to shake off Such, who's now come on to mark him. Nico Gonzalez bouncing up and down to the touchline, ready for his introduction. Not clear yet who's coming off to replace him. It looks like it might be Kevin De Bruyne. This is Foden on the far side. Manchester City playing at a much steadier pace now, no longer chasing the lead. Ruben Diaz to Vitoresh. This is tricky for Plymouth now. You know, they've given this a great go, but the quality they're up against is something else. This is Grealish. Good ball into Rico Lewis. Couldn't trap it. What a pass that was. And Rico Lewis would have had the goal at his mercy, but he wasn't able to control.
Yeah, it's a brilliant little pass in by Grealish. It all gets created from De Bruyne making that run across. Opens up the gap. He just needs to take it in his stride, and it probably would have been, well, it would have been a one-on-one. Not saying he would have scored, but an excellent position. But Gonzalez here is just in Pep's technical area waiting to come on. It must have been over a couple of minutes now. He's been doing a few extra sprints, taking another sip of his water bottle.
So it would appear it won't be Kevin De Bruyne, it'll be Phil Foden who will come off to allow Nico Gonzalez to come on here. Manchester City, who've got a difficult game next. They play Nottingham Forest away next Saturday. The next visitors here at the Etihad will be Brighton the following weekend, and after the international break, Leicester come here to the Etihad. For Plymouth, well, they've got a quick turnaround after this, away again on Tuesday at Hull City in the Championship. You know, had they won their game against 10-man Cardiff last weekend, Plymouth would have moved out of the bottom 3, but that one finished 1-1, so they remained inside the relegation zone. But they've got Hull City, they've got Sheffield Wednesday at home to come, they've got Portsmouth away. Is their FA Cup journey coming to an end here at the Etihad tonight? There is 7 minutes of normal time to play, and Nico Gonzalez is on. in place of Phil Foden. It's another reminder of just what Plymouth Argyle are up against tonight. So many of the illustrious names involved, be it in the starting 11 or coming on as subs.
Yeah, the ones who haven't come on yet: Marmouche, Doku, Savinho, Nunes. You know, these players that Plymouth Argyle probably happy that Nico Gonzalez and Diaz have been brought on before those players.
Interesting scoreline coming our way from Spain. In La Liga, it is finished Real Betis 2, Real Madrid 1. So Real Madrid have been beaten by Betis in Spain this evening. Bernardo Silva claiming the ball went out of play on the far side, and after a delayed beat or two, the flag does rise to agree with that assessment. Manchester City have possession on the edge of their own penalty area. Vitor Reis rolls it back to Stefano Ortega, and a rather rushed clearance there goes straight on the play. That's one of the first mistakes, unforced errors that Manchester City have made all afternoon.
Yeah, the one time that Plymouth now have got the licence and freedom to just jump up and press and leave spaces behind because they've got to go for it. And the one time they do press Ortega, he's under pressure. He hasn't felt pressure all game, really. He just slices it out of play and gives Plymouth what they want. Throw-in set piece.
Cornel Such throws it as far as he can into the penalty area, bounces along the edge of the 6-yard box, just wouldn't sit up for Callum Wright. Manchester City just for a moment were worried there. Plymouth have got possession. Casaguello launches it right-footed towards the edge of the penalty area. Such gets up and wins the header down, but it's straight at Ruben Diaz, and Manchester City should be able to clear away here. Nico O'Reilly slightly slipped as he cleared though, and out it goes for a throw-in off a Plymouth player, out for a throw-in to Manchester City. And O'Reilly just slowly getting back to his feet there, indicating that he may have slightly tweaked something there as he stumbled as he cleared the ball away, but he does look to be okay. Just getting on our monitors here to see another replay of the goal. I mean, he does have his hands on the chest of Casaguello, but as you said, he's standing his ground, he's fighting for his space. It's not a push, it's not a foul.
I think it goes into the file if that happens every week.
Yeah.
Across all football leagues, and you'd give penalties every week, free kicks every week if that's
Good
the
header
case.
forward by Kevin De Bruyne to pick out Jack Grealish here. Grealish dithers a bit though. Haaland had made a great run. Grealish wasn't able to release it quickly enough, and by the time he does send a pass, there's way too many Plymouth defenders back there now. Bernardo Silva on the far side turns and rolls it back to the defenders once again. So Manchester City on their way through, barring any late drama here. 5 minutes to play of normal time in the Etihad. There won't be much to add on. This is Nico Gonzalez, back to Ruben Diaz. Kevin De Bruyne playing it forward towards Jack Grealish, who doesn't control, sort of left it past his body. I think he thought it was going to roll for Nico O'Reilly. Grealish beginning to look a bit tired now, actually, as Nico Gonzalez flicks it out towards his wing, and he's slow to react. And Plymouth will get a throw-in in that right wing-back position.
Yeah, I think bringing in Gonzalez, another January recruit for Manchester City, very industrious. He's not the kind of Rodri style on the ball, but he's got a real imposing presence in the middle of the park. He can drop into as a third centre-back when needed in the build-up, but he's just come on and solidified the midfield, which is actually a compliment to Plymouth that Pep's brought Gonzalez on and not the likes of Marmouche or Doku.
Well, Plymouth have only had one proper attempt at the game. That was the goal they scored. And their supporters who've come in all array of green colours and wigs and jazzy shirts and the whole lot, but is this where their incredible FA Cup journey comes to an end? What a journey it's been, winning at Brentford, beating Liverpool, taking the lead here against Manchester City at the Etihad. But the quality of Pep Guardiola's team have found a way through, and in no way have Manchester City hammered Plymouth here. They've not taken them to the cleaners. Yes, they've had a lot of possession, but you could tell with the scenes of celebrating that Nico O'Reilly goal that Manchester City weren't altogether convinced that equaliser, that goal to put them in front was coming. Here is Gundogan, midway inside Plymouth Argyle territory, gives it out to the far side to Bernardo Silva. Under pressure from right, he retreats back through Vitor Reis and Nico Gonzalez. City back into their own half again. Manchester City 2, Plymouth Argyle 1. Closing stages now, 3 minutes plus the stoppages to go. This is Rico Lewis inside the centre circle. Nice first touch onto Gundogan, who's been allowed to turn here. Has a look to see where Grealish is. Spins it out towards the left wing. Grealish controls it, lays it along the deck for Kevin De Bruyne to cross in low. He was looking for Gundogan again, but blocked away. Plymouth really have defended well in the game. Yes, they've conceded 2 goals from set pieces, but from open play, Plymouth's defence has been excellent.
Yeah, they've been brilliant. So organised, so well coached, clearly, in the short space of time they've had under their new manager. They ideally, I said earlier, they'd like to be in a sort of a 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it. Formations are what they are, but they've just been pinned back, but deliberately so. They've just wanted to stop the playing space that City have had to play in and play on the counter-attack.
Haaland has done well to win possession on the halfway line. Rico Lewis might have been fouled there. Referee's going to bring it back for a free kick to Manchester City while we'll wait for that. It's full-time at St Mirren. Gavin Wallace.
St Mirren 2, Celtic 5, a brace from Yang, goals from Schlupp, Maeda, and a spot kick from Engels cancelled out John and Phillips' early goals ensure the visitors go 16 points clear at the summit of the Scottish Premiership. St Mirren 2, Celtic 5.
Thanks very much, Gavin. Manchester City about to seal the deal here against Plymouth. 2-1 they lead. 90 seconds of normal time to play. Jack Grealish, ball at a standstill at his feet. On the left wing for Manchester City, dancing over the ball. Coming infield again, holding on to it. The clock ticking down all the time. Manchester City not winning this by a wide margin, but at the moment it's going to be enough. Tussle for the ball on the far side, but unable to get it there. Puhatch as City hold on to possession, then it does break down. Plymouth will get an opportunity here. Callum Wright, now he's one of the players that they would want to see in this position, rolling it forward here. This is El Hadj into the penalty area, tries to roll it back. Kevin De Bruyne did so well to make up ground to get back and make a really important interception. That's Plymouth's best chance in an hour of game time.
Yeah, and if De Bruyne hadn't tracked back, that would have been a tapping at the far post from Baidu, but it was El Hadj that made the advance run, squaring it across. Brilliant defensive duties by De Bruyne.
Yeah, this is the elite level that Plymouth Argyle are up against. Haaland will break down the other end. Connor hasn't thought about coming, then he retreated, and it's saved. Haaland's shot saved by Hazard. Second bite of the cherry. De Bruyne! 3-1 Manchester City. It's all over now. Haaland denied by Hazard, but then he provided the assist to Kevin De Bruyne. And De Bruyne, talk about box to box. He makes a crucial interception in front of his own goalkeeper. And about 15 seconds later, he's down the other end, sliding in the 6-yard box to score. And you can talk about flair and talent, but that is hard work and industry from Kevin De Bruyne as he seals Manchester City's passage to the quarter-final.
Yeah, Gundogan releases Haaland into the channel, spins on the back shoulder. Haaland should have scored, to be honest with you, but he just squares it on the second phase for the onrushing De Bruyne. The actual delay in Haaland's finish from the first attempt allows De Bruyne to get up with play, get in the box. He just sees the space, runs off the back shoulder, and he won't have had many easier finishes than that in his career.
He's not had many goals this season. That's his fourth in all competitions. Kevin De Bruyne with a little reminder to Pep Guardiola of what he still can do there at both ends of the pitch. That sums up the quality of the Belgian. And a 3-1 lead now is surely the end of Plymouth Argyle's fascinating cup run. Now this is one Premier League scalp they are not going to take with them back down south again. Manchester City 3, Plymouth Argyle 1. If you're just joining our coverage, Plymouth led in the first half 1-0, but City have been able to turn it around. Pep Guardiola, having missed out of the Premier League, not even properly in the title race this campaign, out to the Champions League. He will really want to do well in the FA Cup and still have a bit of silverware to show for this campaign. A glorious touch by Bernardo Silva on the far side. Now, can he pick the pass? He can't. It was in towards Grealish, and it was cut out by Taliero. Brilliant initially from Bernardo Silva, but then not the best pass.
Yeah, it was a beautiful little touch from Bernardo Silva. You could feel the noise inside the stadium as he did that. They've not seen many touches like that from Bernardo Silva of late, but it was a lovely little deft touch around the defender. And it was an interesting pass to Grealish, because Grealish was away and he sort of chopped his run. But if he carried on, he could have just got the ball into the space and gone through on goal.
Yeah, it was a matador's touch from Bernardo Silva there. The defender, the onrushing ball, and he just flicked the ball away from him and was able to collect it around the other side. So 2 goals from Nico O'Reilly, both headers from set pieces. That sliding finish from Kevin De Bruyne. As Ruben Diaz, who came on as a half-time substitute here, rolls it across to Vitor Reis. And Plymouth will be turning their attentions back towards survival in the Championship. Plymouth, who've never played in the top flight in the history of English football, and they certainly want to hold on to their status in the second tier. This very high-profile season they've had, disappointing results-wise, but high-profile, having Wayne Rooney, and that created a lot of buzz, a lot of interest, a lot of media coverage. Then the FA Cup wins against Premier League opponents Brentford and Liverpool. This big day out of the Etihad here. City aren't done, by the way. Grealish into the penalty area. 5 minutes of being added on. Grealish tries to cross it early for Haaland, and it's blocked away by Toliero again. Manchester City have it inside Plymouth territory. De Bruyne plays double 1-2 with Nico O'Reilly, and it's now just about running down the clock for Pep Guardiola's team. Haaland would love a goal, of course. Since coming on, he's up to 27 in all competitions now this season. This is Ruben Diaz just outside the centre circle. A reminder of what's coming up over the next few days on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. We'll bring you Newcastle against Brighton tomorrow lunchtime. Manchester United against Fulham is the 4:30 game. More Live FA Cup on Monday at the City Ground. Here's Haaland into the penalty area. Kevin De Bruyne over to Bernardo Silva. Tried to nod it back in centrally again, and Nikola Katic puts it out for a corner. City nearly making it 4. I guess we'll be at the City Ground on Monday for Nottingham Forest against Ipswich to conclude this 5th round coverage on 5 Live.
Oh, that was inches away from being a lovely team goal from City. One touch playing and around the box. Bernardo Silva just looks to head the final piece of the jigsaw back across goal for the tap-in. I think it was Haaland lurking, but Plymouth managed to clear.
So here comes the corner from Bernardo Silva, and in swinger, and it's headed up but over the top by Vitor Heish, I think, who got his touch on that, looking for his first goal for Manchester City. What have you made of him? 19-year-old, does look mature for his age, looks composed. What have you made of Vitor Heish?
I think he's looked good. I think Kushanov has looked better, if I'm honest, but I think this was a really good game for Race to come into the team, practice the basic principles of what Guardiola wants. And of course, at the moment, the way that City are playing, they are conceding more chances and having more defensive moments than normal, but I think he's looked very assured this evening.
6:06 coming up with Robbie Savage and Natalie Pike. Your chance to get involved and discuss not just events here at the Etihad, but up and down the land, the FA Cup, the Championship up in Scotland too. You can get involved. 08085 909 693. Robbie and Natalie ready for your calls coming up very shortly here on 5 Live. Referee blows the final whistle. Manchester City have beaten Plymouth Argyle by 3-1. It's a day to remember for young Nico O'Reilly in what may be his final game as a teenager. His 2 goals have been instrumental today to guiding City into the quarter-finals. Kevin De Bruyne was there to put the cherry on top. A scoreline that maybe slightly flatters City, but had this game gone another 15-20 minutes, they probably would have scored a few more. Plymouth gave it everything, but once they were behind, there was never really a convincing argument to say they were going to get back on level terms themselves. Plymouth are out as City go through, is it?
Yeah, it was a brilliant performance from Plymouth. They had their bit between their teeth in the first half, a clear plan, an obvious plan, playing on the counter-attack. They got their goal to go 1-0 up. Could they see it in just before half-time? No, they couldn't, because Nico O'Reilly responded, going in at half-time 1-1, but I think that was a superb account of themselves. And I've just been watching the 2 managers on the technical area having a warm embrace and a word with each other. And I was reading before the game, Miran Music, speaking like so many coaches will do of their fondness of Guardiola and what he's done for football and evolved the game, and I'm sure he enjoyed that moment a lot, just having a moment with arguably one of your idols in that moment. It's probably a pinch yourself moment, but ultimately Plymouth, they didn't have enough in their tank. Manchester City, they got the job done in the end, and the most important thing is their name is in the hat.
Yeah, timing always so important in these games, and that timing of the first City goal just before half-time, it was in stoppages ahead of the break. Had Plymouth reached the changing rooms in front, the booster would have given them the doubt that might have crept in for Manchester City. But as soon as City got that equaliser, it was going to have to be a Herculean task all over again for Plymouth. But lovely scenes here. This is a club that have struggled. They're still in the relegation zone of the Championship. But the bond, the connection here, the 8,000 Plymouth fans who've made the journey, all the players and the subs and the backroom staff are down there and they're applauding. They may have been beaten today, but Plymouth have made a lot of friends on this journey, having knocked out Brentford, knocked out Liverpool, having taken the lead here at Manchester City. Their FA Cup journey comes to a crashing halt now, and they go back to concentrating on staying in the league. City go through as the lowest ranked team left in the FA Cup are eliminated. Manchester City beating Plymouth Argyle 3-1 here on 5 Live. 6:06 to come with Robbie Savage and Natalie Pike. But first, it's news time with Stuart Clarkson.